Guys, welcome back. It's been a while. I'm glad to be back doing some videos. Thanks for stopping in. The other day I was doing an Instagram live and some questions started coming in, and I figured this was a great opportunity to do another Instagram live feed Q&A where I take the questions off of the live feed and answer them here, so they're available to everybody instead of answering them individually. I want to talk a little bit about a good one that came through was 5 best Strat mods. So I'm going to get a little bit into that, and after that I'll talk about some of the other questions that were there. But starting off, on a newer production model Stratocaster, I find that there is a flaw in the nut here, the string nut. They're made out of like a synthetic plastic almost. So my recommendation would be to have a bone nut installed or a tusk nut. Even ivory, but I mean, leave those to the elephants. And you'll greatly hear a sense of improved tone. I really like the chime and the clarity that comes from the bone. And obviously, if you're not qualified to do it, take it to a professional, somebody that knows what they're doing, because you don't want somebody digging into your guitar that has no clue. But that is a mod that I really, really enjoy, and I really on a newer style guitar, like all my guitars are, my old Strats. I've refretted them, and I've purchased bone material and made them myself. So I mean, all of my guitars are equipped with them, just because the sound is second to none. Most recently, too, another mod I can say I'm officially sold on is the old springs in the Strat were getting worn out. So I tried a set of the raw vintage Stratocaster springs, and they're a little lighter tension, so I needed to add one more. I was using 3 before, and now I'm using 4. But I did notice a resonance to the guitar. There was tuning stability, and this, some people may say it's BS, and that's fine. But I can only say what I picked up from it, and I noticed tuning stability, and I just noticed I don't know, the guitar was maybe louder in a way. Everything transferred. Like I could feel it against my body, and the notes were transferring. My vibrato, was really, really great. And so I'm sold. I bought another set just to have them, and they're cheap. They're affordable. They're like $20. So it's a great investment to look into. Another free one, is also adding, because Stratocasters were made. You got your neck, your middle, your bridge. This is your volume pot, obviously, like This pot controls the neck tone shaping, and this one would control the middle shaping. But a free mod to do is make a jumper wire and move the tone shaping to the bridge as well. Because you can get those real bitey tones, and you just roll a little bit of tone on them, and you can play rhythm with that. And again, it's free, and it's reversible. You can put it back, and it adds another tone to your machine that you're working with. So that would be moving... basically just making a jumper wire, and there's tons of diagrams online. I can post a link down to a diagram below. Seymour Duncan has them, and it's a really quick mod to do. Next time you change the strings, pop the pick guard off, and you just add that wire in there, and now you have a new tone on your bridge pickup. Another one too, depending on which Strats you have, is the Tremolo block. This is a vintage Tremolo block, but I find a lot of tone in the steel heavy blocks. I know they may put some weight on the guitar, but I really find that there is a lot of tone in those. So if your guitar is maybe a Mexican Strat and it doesn't have a thick block, I know Callahan makes them, and there's plenty of other companies out there that make replacements for your guitar. Just make sure it fits the model. Like I said, the steel Tremolo block is pretty amazing. And also with Tremolo blocks, another tip I picked up from Eric Johnson one time was taking the paint, like the gray paint they use on there, I take it right off, and I do notice a little more brightness. So if that's something you want to play with, I did it, and I noticed there was some chiminess from it. I know it sounds funny and it sounds foolish, but it's something to try. It's something to do. And I mean, hell, if you don't like it, you can always take the block back out and spray paint it again. It's only a light coat of paint on there. Really, really good functioning guitar always seems to be set up right. And I can't stress enough how important a good setup is to a good Stratocaster. We're using the whammy bar and those strings are flexing and going back and forth, and you want everything just set up right and everything intonated right. And when you hit that note, you know, it's intonated perfectly, and the guitar is playing perfectly, and the guitar is intonated perfectly, and all your notes, it just makes it easier to play. So you can't sleep on a good setup. You know, pay the money for it. If you're not experienced, you don't know how to do your own setups, don't be afraid to shell the money out, because that's your instrument, that's your guitar, and you want it set up right. You know, so I can't stress enough how a good setup is really beneficial to the player. Also, going back to the trem too, I know some people like to play them floating, and some people like to have them decked against the body. I prefer mine against the body, and I think it just it kind of resonates through a little better, and it transfers, you know, a hard surface to a hard surface. I think you get a better transfer. So I mean, that's something to try, and if you don't like it, again, most of these mods are reversible, so you're not married to it forever. And you don't like it, you can just set it back up floating, and but it's something to try because I find it beneficial. Lastly is pots. Some of the you know, new model Fender pots, you know, when you measure them out, if you take your multimeter, like, you know, Fender came with 3 250K pots. And sometimes when you will ohm these out, let me see if I can get it set up for you here. I mean, this is a brand new pot, you know, and sometimes when you ohm them out, yeah, so you're at 214. So to me, that's already, you know, inefficient for what it's advertised. And I feel like, you know, you may not be losing a ton of volume, but you're going to lose some range. Now, if you were to check out a vintage pot, this is a pre-CBS pot. It's got 1966. You can see, yeah, 267 or 263. So they are above spec, and they were military grade, and they had to be, you know. And I feel like, you know, this is a pot from 1966, and it's still measuring that, and it has full sweep. So in my quest, I found that a company called Bourne's seems to make the closest sounding and acting pre-CBS pots. It's just a Bourne's, you know, split shaft pot, 250K, and they kind of resemble them in a way. And then when you measure them out, if I can get it set up for you here again, I mean, that's measuring the Bourne's at 287, really, really close to what the old pre-CBS pots would do. So just so you know, I set up a Bourne's, set up a pre-CBS, a vintage Fender 1966, and a new model 250K CTS from Fender. This one read 212, this one read 267, this one read 287. So I would want a little more dynamic range with the Bourne's. So look into those. You can find them on eBay. You can get 3 for $12 or something like that. They're really, really great. You just solder them right in, and, you know, like I said, you won't see an insane volume boost as to where, oh my god, the guitar is 10 times louder, but it's more dynamic range that you get overall, you know. And I think that's beneficial, because you want, if this is your guitar, your instrument, you want it working to its maximum capacity and getting everything you can out of it, you know. And then getting back to some of the questions, one guy asked, setting up a vibe with fuzz, how do you get it to sound big? I put the fuzz, I would go guitar into fuzz into the vibe. And I think with volume and using your tone pots with the amp turned up, I know what the issue probably is you're talking about, is it's getting hissy, like it sounds very tss. A lot of that has to do with getting the amp turned up, getting more volume in there, working your tone shaping pots, and you can really get that thing to sound thick, you know. Another one asked, good new model Strats. I really like the American Vintage, the American Original. They are basically custom shop guitars without the price tag. So look into those, because they're really, really amazing guitars. They did some pickup work in there. It's a thin coat of nitro. They are great guitars. New old stock tubes versus new tubes. I am a new old stock tube junkie. If I was gigging every night of the week, I would probably use a set of new power tubes, and I would use probably new old stock preamp tubes, because they're easy to swap and you don't have to really bias the amp if you swap them out. But I just really hear a great organic sound, a little better sound with the older tubes. So I've just been accustomed to using them, and I set all my amps up that way, and that's just the way I do it. It may work differently for somebody else, and amp builders may tell me I'm wrong. That's fine, and these are just my opinions, but that's what I really like. Pickups for vintage Fender sound. There's one pickup company that I swore by forever, and that was Don Mayer. He's in California. He's worked on Roy Buchanan's guitar, and he has devoted his life to making vintage sounding pickups. And his Formvar 58 or Formvar 50 set is the go-to pre-CBS tone. So those are my favorites. And recently my good buddy Jesse Davey twisted me up a set of the Bluebird pickups. He wound them to my specs of my guitar, and he put a lot of care into them. He used the proper the Formvar wire, and he put a lot of care into them, and he was really trying to nail some tones. So I can't wait to swap those into a guitar and see what they do. So those are my two. I've tried them all. I've tried Kleins. I've tried Fender pickups. I've tried Seymour Duncan, Lawler. To me, the truest of the true were the Don Mayer, and hopefully with these. The only other ones that were really, really good were the Rumpelstiltskin, so check those out. I know, funny name, but they really, really work. Frets. Everybody wanted to, what frets do you choose? Play guitars with different size fret wire and see how it feels in your hand. That's like asking somebody, what shoes should I buy because I want them to feel good on my feet. You're the only person that can know what fret wire is going to feel good for your playing and for what you're doing. So I use a 6000, sometimes a 6100. This guitar is fretted with stainless, and I enjoy it. But to somebody else that doesn't have as fat sausage fingers like I do, it may be different. You may like a 6105. 6105 is actually a really good middle of the road fret, and also the StewMac Pyramid frets. But I would recommend playing as many guitars as you can with different size fret wire and get a feel for what they feel like under your hands. So there you go, guys. There's a quick 15-minute video just answering some questions and talking about some Strat mods. I'd really like your feedback if you try some of these mods and let me know how they worked out. I got some more videos coming for you this weekend, so stay tuned. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Peace, guys. See you in a minute.